Live from Chicago, it's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my weekly live show on LinkedIn Live, where I teach you how to make money using your creative skills. So today's episode is going to be a little bit of a different formula than usual. Usually what happens in these episodes is I have a guest. We interview the guest. We're going to have a guest next week. We're going to have Stephen and Aaron Pope on the show. But this week, we're just going to be answering questions. So, hey, I see Travis there. Travis, what's up, buddy? If you got a question, throw it in here. He's so kind. He called me a legend. And yeah, I thought this would be an interesting opportunity today. If people have questions about starting their own business, if people have questions about creating video content, if people have questions about improv comedy, writing sketch comedy, TikTok, LinkedIn, we've got a lot of topics we can cover here today. And until I start getting some questions, I'm going to share a little announcement with you that I think people will enjoy. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And so you can see, on my website now, you can find all my old episodes. So I had a lot of people who were telling me they like watching my promos on LinkedIn. I make my promos funny. I throw sketch comedy into there. And yeah, it was really hard for everyone to find all my stuff because LinkedIn isn't super searchable. So I recently went and uploaded all my episodes to my website at christopherbogue.com. So now when you go there, I'm actually going to just put this link in here if anybody wants to see. So here's my videos from all previous episodes. So I'm dropping this in the LinkedIn comments right now. And yeah, we're just going to get, I just dropped that. Oh, am I on there? Yeah, okay, so Carl, you are not on there yet. So Carl Sean Watkins just commented. So basically my website, so I have up through episode 14 here. So within the next few weeks, I'm going to be releasing some more episodes. So last week I sat down with Carl Sean Watkins. We did an episode about vulnerability. And then before that, Nicholas Thickett and I sat down and we talked about being a good neighbor and how to use the LinkedIn comment section to grow your business. So stay tuned. I'm going to be dropping those videos. You're also going to see some promo videos from me coming out in the next couple of weeks for anybody who missed those episodes. I always like to have a little bit of fun with the clips. I try to make them like movie trailers. I like to think of my LinkedIn live show as my late night talk show. And yeah, Carl, I see you in the audience there. I'd love to answer any questions any you guys have. Any questions about comedy. If you have any questions about my background, I did sales for a long time. I did a lot of different types of comedy, a lot of different types of theater. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And yeah, I can just kind of like scroll through here and just like take a little walk down memory lane. But I've been having a lot of fun doing these shows, and it's actually been kind of an experience just going through here and just kind of catching up on how far I've gone. I started doing live streams in November, so that was about half a year ago. I've got all sorts of guests on here, starting with down at the bottom. I did an episode that's actually not available on Spotify, but I interviewed a deaf author and one of my favorite speakers, Meryl Evans. She's going to be doing a TEDx talk soon. She dropped by the show and had a conversation with me about quality captions, along with Victor Kovas, who is a front-end engineer and an accessibility specialist. So that was a lot of fun. Oh, great question. Okay, so I'm going to stop the sharing for a minute. Let's remove this. So yeah, so this is a great question. So Carl asks, how has comedy helped you in engaging in LinkedIn and networking? Comedy is like the only rule I'm following on LinkedIn. You know, I'm a business guy, I'm a sales guy, so I'm used to asking for meetings. You know, I do have a sales process. But improv is all about a set of rules. It's a very simple set of rules that you're following. And they're pretty simple. It's all about supporting your partner. You have to support your partner. You have to accept the gifts that they give you. So if they say, hey, we're here on Mars, you can't say, no, we're not. You know, and on LinkedIn, you know, you don't get to decide what they're talking about. If somebody starts a conversation, you know, you join the conversation that they're having. But yeah, I find that by like affirming their choice and then adding one more thing onto it, that is how I approach networking. And that's the same way you approach an improv scene, Carl. So yeah, all it is just finding a way to play with the other person. And improv is not about invention, it's about discovery. You know, so I treat LinkedIn as a way to discover people, as a way to discover ideas. I find the people who I see alignment with. So that I see alignment with my values or maybe my skills. You know, maybe I want to learn from them. Maybe I think they can learn from me. Whatever the reason is that I reach out to them, all I'm doing is finding ways to play with ideas with them. You know, and when you think about it as an opportunity to collaborate, instead of a way to like prove that you're better than them or prove that you're smarter or more talented than anyone, LinkedIn gets a lot easier. You know, you don't have to sit out there and talk about your money and talk about, you know, all this stuff to try to make yourself look better. Everyone here wants to look good. So if you just show up and support them, it's going to be good for your business. What else do we got here? Oh, okay. So best caption program. All right. A lot of thoughts on this one. So Ryan here is asking, what is the best program to use to generate captions? I'm of a lot of minds of this. I will say the easiest one is whatever platform you're uploading to. So I have to check to see if LinkedIn does this. I write my own captions for LinkedIn, but I know especially for YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, they have a program built into the app already that will auto-generate captions for you. Now, those captions aren't very good, but what you can do is you can go in there and you can edit them. You hit the edit button and just fix the proper nouns, make sure everything looks the way you want it to look. And then YouTube will actually let you download the SRT file. So at the very least, if you're doing it in YouTube, you can generate a caption file and edit it and export it directly within YouTube. So that's one option. The other option, I use a program called Descript. So any podcasters out there, Descript is a really handy transcription program. You can upload a file, whether it's video or audio. You can pull a transcription. You can automatically convert that into a document. You can use artificial intelligence to automatically remove all the ums and ahs. And I use Descript. And what I use most of the time, which is not for everyone, but if you do have the Adobe suite, Adobe's captions are amazing. Amazing. I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit my videos, and it has a very sophisticated auto transcription button. You can even set like how many characters you want on each line. Don't go over 32 characters of text in a line of captions, by the way. But yeah, Adobe Premiere Pro has very good auto captions that I use for most of my videos. So yeah, I would say the native app, if you want to go free, and then Descript and Adobe, those are how I caption. So thank you for that, Ryan. Let's see here. Do we got any other questions yet? Okay, keep the questions coming, gang. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so yeah, that was, so let's start here. So I want to start at the beginning of my live streaming journey. So if you can see here, if anyone knows Max Cohen is from HubSpot. So he's their sales enablement guy. He's very funny. He makes very funny TikTok content. And when I first got access to the platform, I was like, okay, well, Max is funny. Max does funny TikTok stuff, so I'll have him on. So that was kind of where it all started. This was about half a year ago. You can see the published date was November 24th. We actually recorded it a little bit prior to that. But yeah, this is just kind of the road I started in. How much does it cost for a bottle of Chris Bogue Charisma? Well, I'm going to put that up here on the screen because I like that. All right, so Travis asks, how much for a bottle of my charisma? I'm just going to take that literally and say that I am a coach. I do coach people individually. I coach teams. So, for individual coaching, that's $450 for a 90-minute session. It's a one-time session where we generate a bunch of content ideas. It's improv training. It's sales training. It's growing your network. We cover a bunch of ground in 90 minutes, and then I create a document with the transcription of the meeting. So I go through, take all that knowledge, distill it down into a plan. It's broken down into 5 different sections, and I release that to my clients. So that'll help you get a little bit of Chris Bogue charisma if you just want to get out there in front of the camera and start doing stuff. And I also offer soliloquy coaching. So that is individual coaching. That is monthly. We're doing weekly sessions there where we're writing content. We're preparing for your sales meetings. We're prospecting. We are growing your business, and we're using video content to do that. And I also have ensemble training. So those are my corporate packages. So companies can pay me, and I come in there and teach you to make content as an ensemble. Corporations are full of talented people, especially sales and customer success teams. You have a lot of people with camera skills. You have a lot of big personalities, people with service mindsets. And that's what LinkedIn wants right now. That's what TikTok wants right now. So those packages start at $5,000. And yeah, anybody who wants to DM me after the show or during the show or whenever, I'm happy to have a chat with you because if you've noticed, it's a lot of fun getting on video here. And I just kind of showed up and started doing it. And it's been a great way to start my business. And I honestly don't know what I would do for my business if I didn't have content. Getting on video has been so transformative to how I do sales, how I do marketing. I don't think I could ever give it up. And, it looks like fun and games up here, but I do it because it drives business. And I can't do sales without the content marketing, and I can't do content marketing without the sales. So it's a fun way. I've found a fun approach that I really enjoy to getting out there and doing this. And thank you for asking, Travis. I'm going to jump back into, well, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll have some fun here. I'm just going to start writing things on the board. So I had an idea for something that I was going to write. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to know what exactly it is people want because I talk like equal parts about sales and equal parts about video and comedy. And I feel there's so much hunger for both of those topics out there. Especially I talk to a lot of solopreneurs every day. So a lot of my clients are people who just run their own business. They're always very interested in how to grow their sales, how to find new clients, how to prospect leads, how to actually close business and not just have, chit-chat conversations where it doesn't move the needle for you on the revenue side. And then, I'm also finding even salespeople are just kind of curious about getting out there on video. That's it looks easy when people are out there doing it, but I actually had to do a lot of work to get to this point. I've been going at it for about a year. And if everything looks easy and fun right now, it's because I had to fail and I had to do it wrong for a long time. So I'm just going to put this up here again, just because I want the questions to keep coming. But I'm just going to go AMA. Ask me anything. Especially if anybody's curious out there about the years where I was doing improv comedy every week or writing sketch shows. A part of my experience that was really formative to me was writing sketch comedy shows that I was not in. I was the writer, I was the director, I was producing the shows, but I was not in the cast. So you see me up here going, there was a lot of shows where I wasn't doing that. I was just the guy in the booth with the paper. But that was a big reason why I formed my business the way I did, was I learned how to write for other people. And when you're directing a show, your job is to get a good performance out of your actors. So that comes in the way you treat them. You have to treat them with respect. You have to build a sense of community. You have to build a sense of trust. You have to build an environment where they can play and they can take risks. And you also have to grant them a certain level of autonomy. So, my sketch shows would never be me telling my actors exactly what to do. You have to put them into a situation where they're going to look good, but you also have to give them room to just like play on their own. And I find that we don't have that enough with sales. Either it's like completely random and there's no process at all, in which case there's, it's going to be sloppy and inefficient. Or sales leaders just don't allow for any creativity and they're scared to let their reps step outside of traditional sales language. And unfortunately, if you can't do that, if you can't show up sounding like an actual human being, you're not going to be very good at sales. Human beings are very good at recognizing sales language. They're very good at recognizing a marketing pitch. They're very good at looking at an email and determining, is this somebody who's trying to get my credit card information? And, these styles of performance that I've been trained in are the opposite of that. The audience is sitting there. You don't want to do anything except make them feel something. And that's really at the heart of what I'm doing, is I'm just trying to get people to feel something. And that's really all you need to have a good performance. And that's what you need to do in sales too. So it's the reason why salespeople ask so many questions, is because you need to change the way the other person is thinking. And it's the irony of like, you can't make a sale until you build trust. And the second you start asking someone for money, they become suspicious of you, So salespeople have always had to do this dance where you are building rapport, you are making friends, but also you've got an agenda, and it's hard to do. Most salespeople don't hit their quota. Less than 50% of sales reps out there regularly hit their quotas. And sales is one of these professions where the pay is good and the burnout is high. I decided to go this route because sales teams have terrible numbers. Nobody reads their emails. People hate their profession. Their profession makes people literally angry. Like, go on LinkedIn and see how people react to being cold called and cold pitched. They get furious. They explode. They get so angry. I feel unjustifiably so, frankly. But people hate sales, and they always have. And they've always loved entertainment. They always love laughing, a simple observation, a simple connection, a laugh, a smile. These are the things that build trust. So I always see sales leaders spending so much time figuring out how to handle objections, how to like cold pitch someone in an email. It's like, guys, why don't we focus a little bit on getting them to open up to us first? How about you go prove to someone that you can go be interested in them without selling them? Can you show up and have a 30-second interaction with somebody where you don't ask them for money? Because if you can do that, then, you've got a better chance of going and asking them for money in the future. And I'm kind of here because I was doing a very traditional kind of sales. I was selling to college professors. They weren't in their offices anymore because of COVID, and I couldn't visit them on campus, and I couldn't visit them at educational conferences. So I got on video, and I noticed it was just easier. It was easier to break through the noise. It was easier to reach people who had been resistant to my company's emails, people who we had been trying to contact for years, who we'd never been able to get through. I was able to reach them because I got on video, and I have training. Granted, some of that training is sales training, some of that is on stage performance, but I also did television. So I was on TV. I did a little bit of reality TV. And yeah, I did some web series too. So it's different. It's different being mic'd up. I can use a lot of my facial features when I'm in front of a camera that just do not translate as well on a big stage where I'm far away. I've got my blue eyes that my mom and dad gave me, and they come in handy because I can convey a lot with my eyes and my tone of voice. And, I just realized that most salespeople aren't trained to do this. They're not trained to think of communication this way. And so yeah, I started getting on video, talking about sales. I accidentally started being funny because that's just my nature. And yeah, now here I am. So other questions? Ask me anything. Anybody, now's your opportunity. If somebody has a question about who is Chris Bogue, what is he doing? Or if you have questions about, Second City, if you have questions about improv comedy, if you have questions about sketch comedy or stand-up comedy, I've done a lot of it. So I always love talking to people about how to get started, what is an intro to improv class like, and all the schools of thought, the big comedy theaters all over the country have different approaches to comedy, and I'm versed in a lot of them. So my specific comic approach, my improvisational approach, is a blend of a lot of the big schools of thought on comedy, but I always enjoy just kind of like breaking it down. So let me just jump back up here. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this episode here too. Yeah, Double Stream. What's up, Jacob? Jacob, I see you there. If you got any questions for me, let me have it. So I want to talk about this man here. I want to talk about Tyler Lessard from Vidyard. So a year ago, I had quit my job. And when I say quit, I mean, I just quit. I didn't even give a 2-week notice. I just quit. I was done. And I knew that I needed to go do this. And when you quit without giving a 2-week notice, you don't want to go back and ask your bosses for a recommendation. So I just went and I started making friends. I was like, okay, so I don't have a job anymore. So I'm just going to go on LinkedIn. And I know I can do this video thing. So I'm just going to check out who on LinkedIn is making videos. So I started looking around. I started following people. I started getting friendly with any company that makes videos. So Vidyard, BombBomb, One Mob, Drift, any company that made a video solution for B2B companies. I started connecting with their people on LinkedIn. And Tyler Lessard was one of the first people I noticed because Tyler believes very strongly in video for sales. He's been doing Vidyard for a long time. He's their VP of marketing. And he's a goofball. He makes funny stuff. His company believes in, making sales-based entertainment and using that as a way to generate excitement for the product that they're selling. So I saw what Tyler was doing, and I just started following him, and I DM'd him, and I was like, hey, I really love what your company is doing. I want to learn from you, and I started showing up to webinars, and this is what I've been doing. And this is the story of my live stream here too, is I knew who I wanted to sell to. I knew who I could help, and I needed to become part of the ecosystem here on LinkedIn. So I just started connecting with the people who have the same values as me, and Tyler Lessard, if you want to check out our episode, it was one of the first episodes of my live stream, The Future of Video. We had a lot of predictions on that show that we made about how video was going to look in the B2B world in 2022. And we were right. He really predicted that content was going to be the big thing that was going to separate reps out there, and sales reps who can develop their own brand and make content. They're going to have an edge out there doing sales. And I believe we really called it. We really nailed that one. So that video is available. Again, if anybody wants to check out, go to christopherbogue.com. I just updated my website today, so you can find every single episode of my podcast. You can find all my video trailers. I've got a few dozen in there. So check it out. You can see the recaps. There's a lot of sketch comedy, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of good tips. And yeah, so that's Tyler. And then right after that, I did a video. I had Chris Van Prague on. So Chris Van Prague, he works for Vidyard. He's a sales rep. He's an AE. And yeah, he's just like a funny dude. He makes funny TikToks, but his job is to sell Vidyard. And I guess my show is kind of weird because I am more interested in regular people than I am influencers. I don't really consider myself to be an influencer. Now I run my own company, but before this, I was not, some C-level executive. I was out there doing the actual selling. And I think salespeople are incredibly fascinating. I think it requires a lot of grit and a lot of emotional intelligence. I think it requires a lot of courage to be able to go out there and do sales. It's a job where it is easy to fail. It is easy to give up. It is hard to structure your life. It is hard to go out there and do it. And yeah, Chris Van Prague, that dude is just funny. He's a funny dude. His TikToks are good. And he's another one of those guys where I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is a man who has a job, but he's doing the video thing too. He gets out there and he does his video content and it performs well. And that makes the rest of his job much easier. And, our episode was called 60 Seconds of Fame because it was based on that Andy Warhol idea that, Andy Warhol said that everybody was going to get 15 minutes of fame. It turns out he underestimated by a lot. You can just go out here for hours and hours and hours and hours and talk your head off. But we did an episode about how all you really need is 60 good seconds. If you're out there for 60 seconds and it's good and it lands with your people, that's all you need. You don't need to be famous. And even if it's only a few dozen people, if the message really resonates with them, it's kind of like being famous. It's like the same thing as like winning over a big crowd. It's addictive and you want to keep doing it. And it's good for business, because business just wants regular people. Speaking of which, Jacob, am I a regular person? I'd say so. I use that term. That's a positive term to me. I think I'm a regular ass person. I'm not a fancy person. Yeah. This iteration of work that we're in right now is very strange. So, COVID was a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm a kind of person who always wanted to just kind of be by myself. I have a lot of ideas. I like people a lot. I like working with people. But when I want to actually get productive work done, it helps me a lot if I'm alone. And, I was never about like wearing like fancy clothes or, I don't know. I guess just so much of the hustle culture and so much of the success culture of just like constant growth and money. And, there's this way that high performing people talk about themselves. And, they talk about themselves like there is this echelon of excellent people, the top 1%, and you're either that or you're insufficient as a person. And I don't see the world like that. I see a lot of talent in everyone, and I don't think I'm better than anyone. I think everybody has a lot to offer me. And I don't care how rich somebody is or how not rich they are. I want to learn from them. I think they have something to teach me. But yeah, when I say regular people, I just mean the people that aren't like the super rich influencers, people who are just out here doing their job, doing their work, trying to make it from day to day, living their lives. Yeah, if you're a person and you go out here on video and you just be yourself, you are giving a lot more out there than most people on the internet. Most people, they guard themselves, or they put up a facade, or they use avatars, or there's a lot of things people can do to avoid going out there as themselves on camera. And whenever people who are just out here doing a job, living their lives, talks to a camera, it turns out it's actually fascinating. And that's actually what this era of social media is all about. Okay, I like this. So, okay, yeah. So I was definitely a class clown. I was a kid who talked too much. I always wanted to tell stories. I always was repeating stories that, I would hear. I would go and I would tell. When I was in preschool, I remember my teacher would let me go up and tell stories to the class. And this is actually something that it's a coping mechanism. The comedy is a coping mechanism. So I was always a really sensitive kid. I was a crybaby. I was a gifted kid. So I was weird. And my best friends were jocks because I could make them laugh. And I wasn't good at sports, but I realized that if I could make the cool kids laugh, then they would accept me. So I was one of those kids. I like to think of myself as kind of like a social butterfly. I wasn't cool, but occasionally I would get to hang with the cool kids. And really what I loved was just the comedy. So I loved The Simpsons. I loved Saturday Night Live. I loved watching sitcoms. And what happened was in high school, I started doing speech team. So I was captain of the speech team, and I did 2 events. I did humorous duet acting, and I did original comedy. So anybody who doesn't live in the state of Illinois might not be familiar with these events. But yeah, in Illinois, if you are a speech team competitor, you can do an event called original comedy. And original comedy is an event for high school speech team where you write an 8-minute original script, and you go stand up in front of a room, and then you do all the characters yourself. You stand in place, but you pop, and oh no, I'm an old man, and whatever. You come up with characters, and then you get ranked 1 through 6, and you have 3 rounds, and if your score is high enough, you go to a final round. And I would do original comedy, so it was just me doing characters, or I would do humorous duet acting, where it was me and a partner, and we had to do a scene together. So it is no coincidence when you see me out here doing multiple characters, or when you see me doing a sketch with one of my guests, and it's the 2 of us playing off each other. Those are the style of performance that I was always best at. And when I was starting my business, I took an inventory of my life, and I was like, okay, when are all the times I was a success? When was I able to succeed? Which version of me was having fun? Which version of me was enjoying what I was doing? Which version of me was able to win over an audience? And then I said, how can I make sure I'm doing all those things as much as possible? And stuff like data entry, stuff that I just hate, cold calling, cold emailing. How can I spend as little time as possible doing that? I kind of interrupted my own story there, but high school, I did speech team, and then I started doing comedy. So my friends and I didn't really get along with people in my school so much. I had some friends, didn't really like my teachers, my speech coaches. I had one speech coach who was really great. She was great. And then my first speech coach, Jim, he was great too. My other speech coaches just never really got my style. But it's okay because I started making friends at other schools. So I realized, I like these other people that I'm meeting at these speech competitions. They are funny too. I think they're funny. So we started hanging out, and I formed an improv group with my friends called the Waffle Hut. And we would hang out in my backyard, and we would play Whose Line Is It Anyway games. And we started doing shows in a church, just like a church basement. We would do it for charity. We would charge a couple bucks or whatever, and then we would donate all the money to the church. But I really liked it. And then I went to college, and I went to Illinois State University, which is a very good improv group. They've won the national championship for improv numerous times, including when yours truly was on the team. And yeah, it's actually, Illinois State is a big school, and there's only one improv group, or at least there was only one when I went there. So it's very competitive to get in. And that was really where I found my people. I went to college, I was doing improv, we were doing shows every week. I was also doing this experimental theater called Theater of Ted. That was created by Brendan Hunt, who is now on Ted Lasso. He's Coach Beard. And, he's a writer, and he's one of the main characters on Ted Lasso. I went to the same college as he did. And he had this open mic theater called Theater of Ted. And it was no holds barred. There were no rules. People would get naked and run around. It was like crazy. Anybody could perform. Nobody got cut off. It was music, it was dance, it was stories, it was comedy, it was performance art. Sometimes, some drunk would get on stage and just ramble for 20 minutes. But it really had this anything goes kind of style about it. And whenever my friends and I would perform there, we would really take a lot of risks, and the big risks always paid off. And that really infused my sense of performance. So, I'm doing these speech competitions as a high schooler, succeeding at that, doing comedy there. Then I started doing improv in college, and I graduated college, and I started playing shows in Chicago. So my friends and I from college, we started a group called Octavarius. And Octavarius, that was my first podcast. That was my first recurring gig in Chicago. But we had a weekly show at a theater called Comedy Sports. So every Saturday night, Octavarius would do a show called Octavarius So Nefarious. And our tagline was one night only every week. And we would have a theme, and everybody would show up, and we would do, sketch comedy. It would be half sketch comedy and half improv. And this is another thing. You see how I promote my show is I have recurring guests on, and there's always a different theme, and I'm writing sketches based on the theme. And that's because this is what worked when I had to bring in live audiences, and I am trying to do video on LinkedIn with the same kind of spirit that I would do my live performances. So yeah, I started doing comedy, loved my friends, loved my fellow performers. They wanted to go to LA, and I was scared. I didn't think I was good enough. I had no self-confidence. I thought I was the least funny person in the group, and they all wanted to go be stars, and I didn't feel I could hang with them. So it made me very sad. But my group left, my best friends. Half of us stayed in Chicago. The other half went to LA, and we split up. So now I didn't have a posse anymore. I didn't have my crew. But then I wanted to learn writing. So, up into this point, this was my mid-20s. Everything I was doing in comedy was improvised. It was all in the moment. People show up to your show, and it's really funny in the moment, and then it's gone. Improv is the ultimate. You had to be there, So in my mid-20s, I started learning sketch comedy. I started taking classes at the Second City. And, their writing program goes through like 6 levels. So you start writing sketches on day 1. And then, the final level is you're actually putting up a show. And, you do your student show. And, at most, you're going to get 1 to 3 sketches in the show. That's it. But the nice thing about Second City is because you're writing over a period of time, you get done with the classes and you pay a few $1,000s, but now you've got a stack of sketches ready to go, that you've written. And I got into it. My friend Matt Herzog, who we called him Tins, Tinz, he was my music writing partner, and he was in Octavarius with me, and we started doing 2-man stuff. So he was a talented musician. He was a guitarist, piano player, amazing singer, hilarious writer, absolutely hysterical comedian. And yeah, we started doing sketch comedy together, and we started writing shows, and we cast those shows. We would actually have to audition actors, and that was a whole different experience, and then in the meantime I started doing some more experimental stuff on my own. I started branching out into stand-up. So stand-up comedy is a completely different beast than improv and sketch. Stand-up, it really is all about just you and the audience. And then I got married, took a sales job. I'd been, in sales for a little while. I was never totally happy with it, but it made me money. And then, I got married, and I don't want to go too into the details, but my life really got off course. I was married, and then I was divorced rather quickly. And it was horrifying. It was horrifying. I had planned for a completely different life than this. I thought I was going to have a child, and I thought I was going to be living in a house, not an apartment. We had been saving money so that my wife and I could buy a house and have a baby and start a family. And my marriage actually just fell apart, and I was all alone, and it was terrifying. And I took inventory of my life, and I didn't want to fall into a depression. I hadn't been doing comedy for 4 years at this point, by the way. So I was on a huge creative dry spell. Marriage fell apart, was not happy in my job. And I decided to take a risk. I was going to therapy. That was helpful. It helped me keep perspective when there were times in the past where maybe I would have just fallen apart and stopped trying. Therapy was a way for me to understand what I was going through, to put it in perspective. And then, I just decided I'm going to roll the dice. And this money that I was going to use to buy a house and, start thinking about a child and all that, I said, screw it. I'm going to buy a MacBook. I'm going to buy a hard drive. I'm going to incorporate. I'm going to buy a logo. I'm going to buy a website. I'm going to invest in me. And it was a big leap. But as I go out there, as I run into situations, as I have to get creative, as I have to figure out ways to pay my bills and to grow my business, more and more, I'm just rekindling all these old skills that I've had throughout my life, and skills that I thought I was done with suddenly are much more necessary. And the comedy is just one of that. People think I'm out here doing comedy to be funny. I actually, there's a moment in my content journey where I got much funnier. And it was because I was in danger of running out of money. I lost a big client because I didn't have a good method of payment, and I didn't have a contract process. And I took a really painful hit financially. And I had to get funnier. And the moment I got funnier, it was great for my business. And I started getting inbound leads, and I started making money again. And I realized, like, oh, the comedy is valuable. It's not like a side thought here. This is actually something that it is extremely valuable, comedy. And, we talked earlier about Vidyard here. Again, I'll pop up. So, Vidyard here, they're doing what I'm doing. They're making funny stuff because that's actually a really easy way to be able to get in front of someone for business. If you can get them laughing, you can get them talking to you. If you get them talking to you, you've got a chance to potentially do business together. So, I've always been funny. I never thought I was funny enough to do it professionally. But if you force yourself out there on a tightrope, you gotta just keep on walking. So, Chris Van Prague, love that episode. As a reminder to everybody, ask me anything. Anybody here, keep throwing questions into the comments, and I will answer them live. And we'll talk about this episode. So Julie Hansen. Julie's another one, again, on my journey as I created my business, as I was growing my business. I needed to find people who valued the same things that I valued. So Julie Hansen is an author and she's an actor, and she teaches about eye contact for sales. I'm like, wow, a person who wrote a whole book on eye contact. I need to meet her, because my show is all about just looking straight at the audience, just looking right at the lens and speaking. And that's a powerful thing. One of the reasons why I started this business was based on a study that I found about the 2020 election. They were trying to figure out how swing voters change their minds. What causes someone who voted one way in 2016 to vote a different way in 2020 and change parties. It's a very rare thing, but they found that the ads that worked were the ads that was a person talking straight to the camera. And if it was too overproduced, if it was too Hollywood, voters didn't trust it. But when it was a person looking straight at the camera, telling you who they're going to vote for and why, that was what was effective. And I was like, And then I started seeing it everywhere. Everyone is doing just the straight to camera stuff thing. Because, it builds trust. Okay, I like this question. So, Ivana, do you think we will see more comedians on LinkedIn? People that are having different approach to sales, marketing, and business? Yes, you will, for a couple reasons. One, take a look at the comedians out there right now. So you got me, you got Ross Pomerantz doing the corporate bro thing. You got John Selig, right? He's a stand-up comedian. It's working. It's effective. Anybody who can get up and do comedy on camera, Emily DeBrito over at Sweetfish, Max Cohen at HubSpot, Will Aitken at SalesFeed, Chris Van Prague at Vidyard. Yeah, so, and those are not, most of the people I named are not professional comedians. They're just funny. I do anticipate more comedians are going to realize they can go out here and do exactly what I'm doing, and they're going to start doing it. In part because what I'm doing is I'm actually going after the people who already have these skills, Ivana. So, I'm releasing a course, I'm releasing a book this year. But I am actually getting loud about this because there are a lot of performers out there in the world. Sales is a lot about the hustle culture. It's a lot about the bro lifestyle. And there's a lot of people who have to run a business or who have to make money that aren't bros, and they don't like the boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street approach to sales. But they know how to be entertaining. Maybe they went to theater school or music school, or maybe they're, Toastmasters is their thing, or maybe they're just really good at their church and they're really good at getting up there in front of an audience. Whatever it is, if a person is up there and they can be compelling to other human beings, they are suddenly more valuable. And, I every day I feel like I'm getting a little bit more validated. Because every day someone new gets out there and they start making funny videos on LinkedIn and TikTok and it starts working for them. But my theory is, as what I do grows, I'm going to be teaching other people how to do this. I'm already teaching other people how to do this. Some of the time you see somebody out there who's making videos and they're doing this thing. And it's like, oh, that's kind of Chris Bogue. Like, well, it's one of my clients. I'm teaching other people how to do this. And as my business grows, I would like to have, if I can hit my goals where I'm going, pretty soon I'm going to be hiring other comedians. As my business gets bigger, I have a whole roster of talent in Chicago. I know a lot of people who have just as much improv training and just as much sketch comedy training as I do. And I've been a pretty formidable opponent to corporate America just sitting here talking into my phone. But yeah, you could imagine if I get to a point where I can hire additional comedians, we're going to have a lot of fun. Speaking of which, I want to jump up to, where's this at? So yeah, so this episode here that I did, Intro to Improv and Sketch Comedy with Joe Janes. So Joe Janes, he was my teacher at Second City. So he taught me how to write sketch comedy. He's an Emmy Award-winning comedian. So he used to write for Saturday Night Live. And yeah, we did a whole episode together where we trained our audience. We just gave them like a little intro to improvisation and improvisation theory and some tips for how they can start writing sketch comedy and how they can develop a daily writing habit. And I'm very, very adamant that, yeah, salespeople would benefit from paying improvisers to work with them. Anybody who wants to get out there and do the TikTok thing, hire an improviser. Improv is not about being funny. It is about helping, it's about generating ideas out of nothing. And, you know, I charge for my sessions. I have a pretty robust coaching plan, and my coaching packages, they have a lot to them and you get a lot out of them. But, you know, I recommend, I have people that I can recommend you to, including Joe. Joe does not charge as much money as I do. I charge $450 for my 90-minute coaching package. He charges $250. And I have improviser friends in Chicago who will work for $100 for a 90-minute Zoom session. So I tell people all the time, you know, you don't have to move to Chicago to take comedy classes. I could connect you to an improviser and you could play Whose Line Is It Anyway games with them over Zoom. You could pay them $100. You'll have a great time. And they would gladly work for that money. But yeah, it's like, this shit is so much fun. And you see it, you see Refine Labs doing it. Again, HubSpot, Vidyard, Sweetfish. You're seeing all these companies doing it. And everyone follows the same trajectory where they're like, they feel awkward about it. They start doing it. And then they realize like, oh, this is fun. I like this, you know? So right now it's nice that not having a lot of competition here, right? You don't see a whole lot of salespeople doing comedy on LinkedIn, but boy, they should. They really should. And, you know, I know there are hundreds of thousands of people out there on LinkedIn who have this training. They went to improv school. They took the classes at Second City. And for all these years, I was like, I would tell that. I would put that in my cover letter. I would mention it at job interviews. I'd be like, oh, by the way, I'm a trained improviser, you know, and I write and produce sketch shows. And they're like, yeah, who gives a shit? You know, they didn't care. But the second I started doing it, everything changed. You know, now I wasn't describing it to people anymore. They could watch me, you know, and you can go here. If you go to ChristopherBogue.com, you know, you could check out my episodes. These are me improvising. These are videos of me doing comedy. And you can see it works, you know. So I like to think of it like when you're giving a dog medicine. You know, you take the pill and you got to wrap it in a piece of lunch meat. That's what you can do with comedy and sales. You know, I'm talking about sales here. I'm talking about accessibility. I'm talking about brand strategy. All this shit is not interesting usually. But I just throw a little dash of comedy in there and all of a sudden all my content performs much better than all the old stuff I used to make for business, you know? So yeah, comedy, it is no laughing matter. It is a serious skill that people wish they had. And anybody who does have comic skills should get out on video and start doing comedy on LinkedIn because it is a comedy desert here. And that's a shame because LinkedIn has a great audience. Two reasons why LinkedIn's audience is great. They're all adults and they have jobs. So you don't have to compete with teenagers here. And I don't think enough professionals think about what an advantage that is. But if you're on TikTok, you're competing with teenagers who are twerking, you know, and you're not competing with that on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, this is business advice here. People want to figure out how to get paid. They want to figure out how to grow their business. They want to figure out how to market themselves or whatever. But yeah, if you present that information to them and you're just a little bit more entertaining than everybody else, you can win. So love that question. Thank you so much. I am almost done here. So, okay. Yeah. So last question I'll take. I'm so glad you asked this, Ivana. Do you think everyone can learn to improvise? Yes. Yes, everyone can. It is not a thing that you can either do or you can't do. It is something anybody can do. It is an approach to creation. And, Second City did not teach Tina Fey how to be funny, or Steve Carell or Bill Murray or any of these people who came from Second City. They were already funny before they got there. Improv does not teach you how to be funny. It teaches you how to come up with something out of nothing, and that all starts with you. So what they teach you in improv is you're basically just playing a different version of yourself. And you'll see in my videos, in improv, you learn to wear your character as lightly as a cap. So I'm usually just leaning into a different emotion. I'll play a more impatient version of myself, or I'll play a more overly eager version of myself. But it all starts about like finding your true feelings, finding your comic flaws and playing with them. And it's all about not anticipating what the other person's going to say. Improv just teaches you to listen. And, it's that idea we were talking about earlier in the show of yes and once you learn that it's not about you, it's about your partner, it gets much easier. And improvisers, they teach you it's not about yourself. What you want to do is you want to set the other person up to look good. And that other person's working to make you look good. And once you realize it's all a game of how to support the other person, then it just becomes like, how do you become open to them? And how do you train yourself to really listen instead of thinking about the next thing that you're going to say? And that just comes with practice. It's like any skill. If you go out there and you do it, you'll get better at it. And pretty soon, here's the last thought, because I'm going to have to close out the episode here. But Ivana, if you want to learn to improvise, you can either hire me as a coach or you can go bug LinkedIn for creators, because I'm actually going to be teaching improv as soon as I get audio access. So I have been begging LinkedIn for creators to give me access to live audio streams, because I am going to be doing a show called Chris Bogue and Friends, a Pass the Mic improv show, where I teach you how to do improv in real time. And it's going to be a group show for large groups, so we can improvise together, we can learn improv together, and we can use it to create content and build our brands. The problem is LinkedIn says I'm not a good enough influencer. I got to be like one of these famous guys who has like 1 million followers, and I'm just not there yet. So I've been trying to get interest. The second LinkedIn gives me access to this tool, I'm going to be doing improv and you can come improvise with me. But until then, they say that I can't have access. So I'm going to keep bugging them. If anybody knows anybody in the creator world and can put in a good word for me, I know I don't see a lot of improv shows on LinkedIn designed for large groups of people. But that's what Chris Bogue and Friends is going to be. So check that out. I strongly recommend, if anybody wants to check out my videos, if you want to check out any of my podcast episodes, any of my sketch comedy, go to ChristopherBogue.com. And you can just follow me on LinkedIn. So you can always go and click my bell. I am a content creator. I put content out there every single day. I post about sales. I post about entrepreneurship. I post about improv. I post about writing, the creative process, content creation, TikTok. I cover a lot of ground every single day. And just hang out, you'll learn a little bit, and I'm always open to a conversation. So check me out. Visit ChristopherBogue.com. You can find me on TikTok at Chris Sells His Soul, or on Twitter at Chris Sells Soul. You can also find me on Facebook or YouTube. And I'll see you on LinkedIn. And keep your eyes peeled, because next week we're going to be back interviewing guests. I'm going to have Stephen and Aaron Pope on, and we're going to be talking about making content in teams. We got a really funny trailer coming out. It's going to be sitcom based. So keep your eyes peeled for that. This has been another episode of Chris Sells His Soul. Bye-bye, everybody.